In this video, I'm going to give you a bit of an overview of the spring period lab that you're going to be doing in Pivot Interactives. And this activity is fairly similar to the Pendulum period lab that you did in the last module. So we're going to be looking for what are the variables that affect the period of a spring, where if you hang something with some mass from the end of a spring, you pull it downward a little ways, that spring is going to be able to vibrate up and down in a really similar way to the pendulums that we saw swing back and forth. Now, as a reminder, I've created this Pivot Interactives user guide that goes through how to do a lot of the things you're going to be asked to do in Pivot. So feel free to pull this up, to use it, to reference it. You can use the table of contents either over on the side or on this first page to navigate quickly to a section you need. Now, in the activity itself, the video does give two views. It's got a larger view where you're going to be able to see the person actually interacting with this. You're going to be able to see the setup. And then it's got a close-up view where you get a really nice zoomed-in picture of the mass on the end of the spring. And then this bolt is here just to help them control that amplitude. Just like in the Pendulum lab, if you go to this thing that has what looks like a wrench and a screwdriver, you're going to get some tools. You will have a ruler that you can drag around. You will also have a stopwatch, and you can hit reset to set this stopwatch to a time of 0 at whatever point in the video you want to. Now, this one also has a horizontal line that you can turn on. The horizontal line is just something you can drag around to use as a reference point if that's helpful. So, and then below this has the different settings you can change. So the first thing you're going to need to do is select the spring that you signed up for. You're going to hit go, and that will load one of the videos with your spring. If you play it, it'll show the person pulling that down and then releasing it to let it bounce up and down. And once again, that period is going to be one complete pattern. So when the mass is released, if it goes up and comes back down to where it started, that is one pattern. Now, in terms of the questions, first thing you'll just let us know which spring you signed up to use. And then you're going to do two experiments. The first one is going to be on amplitude. And so if you go to your settings, you should have at least 3 different amplitudes that you can collect data for. You'll pick one mass and just leave it on that mass. You'll be able to use the ruler to measure the amplitude. So that amplitude is just how far they stretched it. So if I line up my ruler with the bottom of the mass, and then from the bottom of the mass to the top of this bolt is my amplitude so that I can actually put a number in. And then so my data table, I want to make sure I have good column titles so I can have amplitude and period. I can add the units that I'm measuring in. And then one detail I want to make sure to point out is make sure you click this show origin box. It's going to be really useful for us to be able to see 0, 0 on the graph just to help visualize what that relationship is. So you'll collect data for the 3 different amplitudes. What's the period with each one? You'll make a graph, period on the vertical, amplitude on the horizontal. And then you're going to do a second experiment where you do the same thing with mass. And so you'll want to use all of the masses that you have available. You'll pick just one amplitude to stick with, and then collect data for all the different mass options that you have. There will be some that are grayed out. Those are just ones that they didn't record a video for that combination. So for every mass that you can collect data for, you'll collect data, you'll add it to your table, and once again, you'll have one column that's mass, one column that's period. On your graph, period will go on the vertical, mass will go on the horizontal, and then you'll click Show Origin. Once you've posted your graphs to the discussion board and you've responded to the questions there, then there's just a few more questions for you to answer based on your results, including some linearization for you to do. As always, let Lazia or I know as questions come up.